Okay, PX Ford Ranger gear stick removal. We are going to show you how to do this. So first thing you need to do is take this little cap off. It is just clipped into the top of the gear knob. This one has been broken before and just siliconed on, so we just had to basically break the silicone. You can use a tool like this to try and pry it off without breaking the clips. But obviously somebody has done that in the past. And then there was just that little Torx bolt on top that needed to come out, and then this sleeve comes off, and just twist it anti-clockwise to release it from the stick, and it has the surround panel with it. And we've just got the rest of the center console pulled up out of the way, and that is to give us some room to get rid of this next bit. This is sort of the trickier bit. These little tabs on the side here, we need to push in with the screwdriver, and we are going to be lifting the gear stick at the same time. So yeah, this is the bit that's a little bit trickier, just because they're quite tight, these clips. Basically do one side and get it to release, and then go around and do the other side to get that to slide right off. So if you're removing this because you have the unfortunate task of removing the gearbox from this thing, they are a bit of a job, so just stay tuned, and I will have some quick tips on doing the whole job as well, just to help you out, because there are certain things that you need to do, and if you know them ahead of time, it's going to make it a lot easier for you. Cool, so that's one side done, second side, and pops up. And then we can just slide that whole top assembly off, and this is what we are left with. So there is no more of that stick that will come off. The rest of it we will get from the bottom, but we'll just take this panel off first, and it just has 4 8mm bolts holding it down. And then all we're going to do is we'll lift that up and we'll just slide it back, so it slides off the pin behind the gear stick there. Cool. And now this pin in the back here, if you were just going to hang your gear stick while you remove the gearbox, you could leave this here, but we're going to get rid of it because I like to get the gear stick right out of the way, so I'm not fighting with it while I'm trying to pull the gearbox out. Cool, so that comes out of there. Okay, next thing we need to do is remove this other grommet here that's in front of the gear stick, and that reveals our selector shaft connection. Okay, so that Torx bolt down there, it's actually a security Torx. You will need to undo that to release this from the shaft. Okay, so we can just get down there with a extension, and just remember it is a security Torx, so it needs to have that hole in the center of it to fit over the pin in the center of the bolt. It looks like that. Cool, so we'll just get rid of that right out of the way, and because I'm pulling this right out, I'm going to release this boot. Again, if you were hanging it, you could leave that as it was. Cool, and that will still hold on to that shaft quite well. You can use a pry bar or something just to pry it off the back, just to release that, so that it's all free for when we're underneath. Okay, and so this is underneath, and I've got the gearbox, the back of the gearbox dropped down because I am removing it, so I'm at that stage of the job, and it just gives me a bit more space to get at these bolts. So there was a 10mm one on that side, and there's a 10mm one on the other side. So those two bolts are now all that are holding this assembly in, and we'll show you soon what the assembly itself looks like when it's out, so you know exactly what you're looking at. Okay, so then with the back of the gearbox drop down, you can twist it on its side a bit to pull it out the back, and this is what the assembly looks like. Cool, and now to reinstall it, this is the advice is to use a 12mm drill bit between the gear stick and the tang there for the reverse lockout while you do up that bolt. That's a good point to start from, but you'll find that you probably do need to adjust it from there. It's very important that we get that adjustment right, so please stay tuned, and I'll talk about that a bit more after this next step. It's a real safety issue, so we need to make sure we cover that. So getting this sleeve back on, if we hold the boot up, we can actually visually see the tangs where it needs to fit into, and it just presses in and turns clockwise now to lock back into place. Cool. So I'm pushing this all back down now. What you want to do is actually leave that up, because I had to pull it up again actually to readjust that selector shaft, because I had the issue that I'll share with you shortly. And then it's gear knob on. Make sure you remember that little sleeve that goes in the top of the spring. Gear knob only fits on one way, and then the Torx bolt, and then your cap on top. Okay, now the safety issue is what you need to do is make sure that that selector shaft, it has to be adjusted right so that you can select reverse, but it also has to be adjusted so that you can't select reverse without lifting the sleeve on the gear stick. Okay, because that's a real safety issue. If you adjust it too far when you're trying to get it to select reverse, and you go too far the other way, which is what I did the first time and I had to readjust it, then you will be able to select reverse without lifting that sleeve. And of course that's a safety issue, because the customer stops at a set of lights and goes to put it in what they think is first gear, but they might actually select reverse and they have no idea. They have no way of knowing they've done that, and next thing they hit the car behind them. Okay, so it's important that that lockout sleeve is operational, and that relies on that adjustment on that shaft. Okay, so it has to be right. 12mm drill bit is a good starting point. I found I needed to give it a little bit more, but then not too much that that you could select first. You could select reverse without the sleeve. Okay, so just make sure you get that right, please. Okay, I hope this has helped you out, and again, if you are removing the gearbox, check out my channel or flick me a comment, and I'll give you the link to the other video I'll upload, just with some extra tips around doing this job. Okay, I hope this has helped you out. Don't forget to click a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video for more real tips from Real Mechanics.